Why call the movie 1986 and this act? Because you had to choose a title, and you did choose that. You didn't call it A Mother's Intuition. So why that? And can you tell people a little bit more about what's in the film?
Certainly. So the 1986 Act, signed into law by Ronald Reagan, put on the statute, really removed to a large extent liability from the pharmaceutical companies for the vaccines that they made. It really came about because of the pertussis component, the whooping cough component of the DTP vaccine. That was a problematic vaccine. It was causing a lot of injury and a lot of death in children, far more than was acceptable. And the industry was getting sued. And so they went to the government and they said, you want children to have this vaccine, the states mandate the vaccine, and you require it. And yet we're picking up the tab for the litigation. Either you protect us from litigation, from liability, or we will stop making the pertussis vaccine. The country will be left with no vaccine, children will die, and it'll be your fault. How do you feel about that? And it was at the time supported by parents of injured children because there was this huge confrontational situation in courts of law where they would fight tooth and nail for 6-7 years in each case, while the child who was damaged was getting older and older and older when they needed help. And it was a very, very hostile, contentious situation. So there was initial support for a no damage compensation system, a no fault compensation system, sorry. And that on the face of it was the reason for the act being passed. It gave a degree of liability protection to the industry. That has since become complete protection for the industry. So what it's about is an industry and a set of products that have now been removed from the constraints of the free market. Not only do you have a product that is inherently unsafe, that has not been adequately tested. Let me just say, it was 40 years before they did the first safety study on DPT in America. They licensed it, started giving it, and gave it for 40 years before they did the first proper safety study. But the importance of this is that they allowed this situation to continue. They allowed it to perpetuate. There were a lot of injuries, and the product was removed from the constraints of the free market. Now, you and I know in a free market, a good product will succeed and the company will thrive. A bad, unsafe product will not. It will sink to the bottom and it will finish. And either the companies improve the product or they will perish in the marketplace. Well, when you take a product out of the constraints of the free market, then you remove that. Then you have a nightmare, you have a problem, because what happens next is that you mandate that bad product. You mandate that product for which there's no liability. And now you have an industry that has the perfect business model. No liability and a mandated market. All they can do is make a massive profit. And that's exactly what they did. They made a huge profit. And they became so powerful that they were able then to influence the regulators at the FDA and the CDC, the government. They would buy politicians. There are more lobbyists now on Capitol Hill for the pharmaceutical industry than there are politicians. And when that happened, they became immensely powerful. They then got a leave from the FDA to direct-to-consumer advertising on the television. So they could market their products on television in the media. And what that meant is the media came to be owned. The mainstream media came to be owned by the pharmaceutical industry because there was so much money coming in that their lifestyle, their infrastructure depended on that income. And at that stage, they had the ability to dictate the news content, the headlines. And if they didn't want something to play, it wouldn't play. And you and I are experiencing exactly that now as it permeates the social media platforms as well. So you have a catastrophic situation where you have no liability, mandated markets, control of the regulatory process and access to the consumers. And now, as Bobby will have told you, I'm sure, that there is worldwide efforts by the pharmaceutical industries to get politicians to pass laws that mandate vaccines, not for children, but from cradle to grave. No, actually from pregnancy to grave, from pregnant mothers right the way through to the grave. And you will not be able to function in society if you do not comply with those mandates. That is the policy. That is the stated policy. That is the way this is going. And the importance of this film, which pits this huge behemoth against the mother's intuition, is really a David and Goliath story writ large. But it's my belief, it's my sincere belief that the power, the collective power of that intuition amongst the world's women, because this is a global problem, will change this for the good.